Hexemonia is a game inspired by ancient Greek city-states. It is played with components that are mainly hexes, tiles that are hexagonal in shape, and all players will use those to form their own tableau to create their city-state. However, it is not a parallel multiplayer solo, because there are also interactions such as war and more direct interactions such as I'm gonna take that tile that I think you're gonna need, or I'm gonna activate a certain effect that messes you up. So it definitely has that aspect of interaction, which is good in some games and in some groups, and maybe not so good in some other games or in some other groups. Let me show how the game works, and then I will tell you what I think about Hexemonia. Each player starts the game with an Acropolis tile that will become the center of their city-state. Each Acropolis has a condition that will allow the player to score extra points at the end of the game based on the type of tiles that they have placed in their city-state. And you play with your Acropolis face down, precisely to conceal the bonus that you're trying to score. Then you lose resources in the game. There are 3 resources: gold, citizens, and hoplites. And then you have other tiles that you will add around your Acropolis. The number of tiles that are in the draw stack will change depending on the number of players. You will then draw 4 face up, and these will be the tiles available for the players to draw from, to select from. You also start with a hand of tiles, and when it is your turn, well, the turn is, I find the structure of the turn fairly elaborate. But the first thing that you do is you acquire new tiles and possibly new resources. You always take 1 tile from the 4 available at the beginning of your turn, you replace it immediately, and then you choose if you want to take a second tile or if you want to take a resource, and resources taken that way are placed in your Acropolis. And you will have resources, of course, in your city-state. Then you get to play as many tiles from your hand as you can afford. Now, tiles can be, once they're played, in 1 or 2 conditions. They be active or inactive. They're active when they have on them the resources indicated here. For example, the village is active when there is 1 gold and 1 citizen on it. The temple when there are 2 citizens and 3 gold. Now, resources can be, the tiles that are not active may still have resources on them. And it's very important that you're able to tell at a glance which tiles are active and which ones aren't. So it is recommended that you place the resources for the active tiles on the section of the tile here, so that you can easily tell, again, whether or not a tile is active. So these tiles, we know that they are active. This is important because it can also be that a tile that is inactive still has resources on it. It's possible to have that tile, which requires those having fewer resources, but if they are in the middle of the tile, then you know that they're there, they can be used, but they're not sufficient to activate the tile. This is important because at the end of the game, only active tiles will score you points. So that matters. That really matters. So you acquire a tile and a resource, or 2 tiles, and then you play as many as you can allow to activate. To activate a tile, you move resources from anywhere in your city-state to the new tile. So for example, I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do that. So I play that tile. But alas, now that tile is not active anymore. Rules of placement: you have to first complete a circle of 6 tiles around your Acropolis, and then following circles have to be complete. So you have to complete a second circle before you can complete a third one. That means you cannot build in weird shapes. It grows. Your city-state grows organically. Also, these blue tiles here, they have a restriction. They need to be next to the Acropolis or next to one another. So actually the initial placement that I showed you was not legal. This one should be. So you place down as many tiles as you want and can by moving resources so that they're active 1 once they join the city-state. Then you get to perform one action. You get to perform one action which can be production, strategy, special, or war. Strategy, let's talk about strategy first. Strategy, you pretty much move your cubes around your city-states from tile to tile. Basically, this is important because that means that you can move cubes around to prepare and to activate different tiles. So for example, by moving those cubes there, I made that tile inactive and I activated those two. There are also reasons to do so because you may want to defend your borders. So probably when you move things around, you will want to put your hoplites that are good defenders more towards the borders. Also, there are defensive tiles that have that symbol there at the bottom, and again, they offer good defense to tiles that are adjacent to them, but only if they're active. So you wanna have a mix of resources in tiles that are active, so they produce more resources, and resources that are used to defend your borders. So that is for strategy. You move your tiles around. You may also choose to exchange, when you take the strategy action, 2 citizens for an hoplite or vice versa. The other action that you can perform, well, instead of strategy, the one action can be to produce. So when you produce, then all of the tiles that have this icon at the bottom and that are active get to produce the corresponding resource or resources. That one is active, gives me a gold. The countryside is active, gives me a citizen. That one is not active, gives me nothing. Oh, look at this one. The village was active. I thought you, I bet you didn't realize that, right? And so that produces two citizens. Now, as you can see, some tiles at the bottom have a special effect which is indicated there, and basically you can take the special action in which you get to activate all of those actions of that type. Speaking of special action, actually special tiles, there's a type of tile that I didn't cover, which is pretty important, which is the myth tile. Some tiles represent deities that I guess the players are consulting or they're aligning with. They're choosing as their patrons. When you take a tile, you can place it not attached in your play area, but not attached to your city-state. It doesn't have a cost, but it does have a matching symbol. And in order to play a myth tile, you need to place it in. You need to place the token in a tile with the same symbol. Here, that would be the eye, and that would be a political tile. There will be a political tile. Those blue ones, which also have the look here. This one that also has the eye. Yeah, I tend to identify those, but actually there are also other ones that may have the eye. So, strategy, move your cubes around. Production, get production of resources from tiles that produce resources. Special action, get the actions from your special tiles. And the biggest action of them all is war. Very important. War, basically, you choose the city-state of an opponent. Oh, look at the city-state of this opponent here. That city-state gets attacked by you. You will select a tile that you want to attack. It has to be a tile on the edge of the city-states. The tiles that are completely surrounded by other tiles cannot be attacked. And there is strategy there. That is actually the best way of protecting a tile, is to surround it with other tiles. So you select a tile on the edge of the city-state of an opponent. There probably will be, there might be resources there, maybe citizens, maybe hoplites. Basically, you commit citizens and hoplites from your city-state to attack the tile that you want to conquer. To do so, you need to pretty much beat their defense value. The defense value is 1 for each citizen, plus 2 for each hoplite, plus possibly the defense value of active defensive tiles next to it. Like in this case here, there is a defense value 1 and the tile is active, so that adds to the defense value. So you need to commit enough citizens and hoplites. Your citizens also are worth 1 and your hoplites also are worth 2. You need to beat that total and actually to exceed it. Suppose there we're gonna match those, then we're gonna match the, oh, look at that, we had an hoplite that you missed. We're gonna match that defense, and then we're actually gonna commit someone else. So the defender will lose all of their defenses, the attacker, all of the ones needed to match the defense of the opponent, and the extra ones are placed there, placed on that tile after the tile has been added to your city-state following normal placement rules. This is for war. Now there is still a thing that you need to do at the end of your turn, which is you check for political unrest. There is a philosopher pawn that is placed in the city-state that has the most eye symbols. If someone else becomes the player with the most high symbols in the city-state, the philosopher can't resist, has to go there. But when that happens, every other player, other than the player that just received the philosopher, everybody but the player with the most political stability, represented by eyes, will lose resources in excess on what they need to activate a tile. Now, you continue like this until the last tile has been drawn from the draw deck, and then each player takes a final turn, and then you do final scoring. Now, for the final scoring, each active red or green tile will give you 1 victory point. Each active blue tile will give you 2 victory points. 8, let that sink in for a moment, 8 points if you have 3 myth tiles with 3 different symbols. 8 points it's huge. Also 1 point for each gold on your Acropolis, plus points for the bonus of your Acropolis. You put together all of the victory points from all possible sources, and at the point the player with the highest total is the winner of the game. I was pretty excited about the game after I read the rulebook, although the turn system, the turn structure felt a little convoluted. I wasn't entirely clear on it. I had to play a couple of turns before it really clicked in. And then I was like, well, okay, I like the general idea, I like what I have here, interesting decisions, because I have a hand of tiles here, tiles that I can choose, a choice between extra tiles and resources. I can choose how to create my city, how to organize it, what kind of synergies to form. Some tiles will respond to tiles next to them. Wow, so many great things to do. It really seemed a promising game that seemed to have the depth and some of the general span, conceptual span of a larger civilization game in a digestible, accessible format. However, then after playing it for a while, towards the end of the first game, some problems already started emerging. One is unfortunately a massive luck element that really strategy has a hard time of setting. Now, it is possible it just so happens that the tiles will come out in a way that will give everybody equal opportunities and that will equalize, but by definition you cannot count on that. The tiles that represent deities, and that if you form a set of 3 of them, you get 8 points. That's a huge advantage if you get it. And it's not all that meritocratic. If you don't get them, well, you don't get them, if they're not there available. Yeah, sure, you may launch a war and try to take the tiles that have them, but probably the players that take them will place their divine tokens in areas that are well defended, and so there you have it, or even in areas that are virtually impossible to take. So there you have it. If the tile is not available when it's my turn to draw from the set of 4, then chances are I don't get it, and so you get 8 extra points, and I never get a chance, for not because you played better, but because you were sitting there when those tiles came out. Similarly, not all tiles are born equal. Production tiles are pretty much always good. If you have 5 production tiles, when you choose the production action, you're gonna get 5 tiles that will give you something. They will give you gold, which is good to build other tiles, and of course for victory points. Hoplites or citizens for attack, defense, building other tiles, etc, etc. But those are the tiles with those special unique effects. If you have 5 of them, since those effects are very situational, maybe one of them will really give you something that you need, maybe 2. So now to spend an entire turn to activate those 2 effects, which sometimes is like to gain a resource or 2, or to gain the equivalent of a resource or 2. Or sometimes you spend your action for the turn to activate an effect that also consumes resources to give you what you can get from the tile. Well, it just, both in terms of actual resources and opportunity costs, trying to create sets of special actions is not all that great. It's definitely more situational, more risky, and it doesn't pay off as much as building as using production tiles that will allow you to build a lot more access, which also have the advantage of, if you have more access, then you can surround your precious initial access with other access, protecting precious areas from warfare. And here it comes to another element in which luck has a role that I did not enjoy all that much. You could, I guess, play a variant in which you just tell people, don't fight wars, don't simply play more like a multiplayer solo. But of course the game as is has war, it has been designed that way, and here comes the problem. If a player, especially in a 2-player game, if a player has, because of luck, an initial advantage, the player starts having a good number of hexes and a good number of people that are there producing more hexes, activating more hexes, and then the player is there stuck with tiles that don't give a lot of production in terms of hoplites and citizens at the beginning. Then you start having a city-state with a lot of population and a lot of tiles, and the other one that is smaller, and a large state. If that player starts attacking the other player, then it's virtually impossible for the other player to catch up, because you're spending resources just to put there a tile that then the other player is systematically taking. And so that creates that problem, that getting an advantage early on may mean to become a runaway leader, which of course is another problem. Solution: with more players, then you gang up against the leader, but then the other problem is that the game may slow down to a crawl, because now everybody's attacking everybody else, and so we deplete our resources, then everybody's producing for a while, then everybody's again starting a cycle of wars. And so yes, there is that balance, but then the game starts lasting much longer. The countdown clock is still ticking, because each turn at least one tile is taken. But if players really want to concentrate on building a mass and then attacking, and so tiles start going around, resources start going around, they're depleted, then you have to build them again, they're depleted again. You just have a sense that the game almost gets to a stall, which again is really not that ideal. It's a pity, because I have the feeling that this game could be good. I don't know what would need to be changed. It feels like there could be tweaks that are done that could be made. I feel like the game needs a playtest doctor that comes in and fixes it and tweaks it, maybe removing the war or change it entirely, maybe allowing players to start to choose their a set of initial tiles, 3 or 4, that you assign to players through drafts. So there is luck, but there's also choice there. It just seems that as things are, there could be a good game here, but for you and your group to enjoy the game, too many things have to go well. The excess, the tiles have to come out in a way that will give more or less different people's equal opportunities. The players must be willing not to exploit the possibility of crippling and basically kicking one of the players out of the game, which really it's your right to do if you want to do so, but then of course the game is less fun for that person, and a game should be one that whatever the players do within the rules of the system, everybody has a good chance of having a good time. Hexemonia is not one such game. It seems to me a game of wasted potential. I don't know what happened. Maybe they didn't play test it all that much. It is not a bad game when it goes well, but there are just too many times in which luck and or the way players decide to exploit their advantages will make it such that the game is not all that fun. Too bad. I would have loved to have a game that, well, that let me do the things that I do in this game. Build my tableau, build my city, create different synergies, so choose how to move people around, etc., etc. I like those ideas. Somehow they're not implemented here in a way that I found particularly enjoyable. Alas, maybe there will be a second edition, a revised edition, and I hope there will be one with different rules so I can give this game a try again. As this is not a game that I enjoyed in particular.